15. Thule Burnham. The melody and coloratura hand. A prominent figure in the musical life of Paris is Thule Burnham, pianist and teacher. Mr. Burnham is an American who for a number of years has made his home in Paris. He has studied with the greatest masters of his instrument on both sides of the water. More than this, he is a musical thinker who has worked out things for himself, amalgamating what he has found best in other methods with what he has discovered in his own experience. He has been able to simplify the whole fabric of technical material, so there is no time lost in useless labor. As a pianist, Mr. Burnham takes high rank. Technical difficulties do not exist for him. He has come to the last turning of the road. Before him rise the heights of supreme spiritual mastery. A touch that is limpid, clear, and capable of many gradations of tints, splendid power in fortissimo, delicacy, velocity, and variety are all his. Together with all this, he has a sympathetic insight into the mood and meaning of the composer. Of late, he has been giving several recitals of a semi-private nature, at which he has brought out some of the larger works in his repertoire. These recitals have taken place in his charming studios, and it was my good fortune to be present when two concertos were played, the MacDowell in D minor and the Grieg in A minor. Mr. Burnham is a warm admirer of the works of our great American composer and has prepared an entire program of MacDowell's music, which included the Tragica Sonata, Polonaise, and many of the shorter pieces. In a conversation with Mr. Burnham in regard to methods of teaching, he gave many helpful points, explaining how he had reduced technical difficulties to a minimum through the exercise of a few simple principles. Principles of touch. The position and condition of the hand varies according to the character of the music and the tone you wish to produce. If you give out a melody, you want a full, luscious tone, the weight of arm on the key, everything relaxed, and a clinging, caressing pressure of finger. Here then, you have the melody hand, with outstretched, flat fingers. If, on the contrary, you want rapid passage work with clear, bright, articulate touch, the hand must stand up in well-arched, normal playing position, with fingers well-rounded and good finger action. Here you have the technical, or coloratura hand. Melody hand. The melody hand is weighty and dead, so to speak. The touch is made with flat fingers. The ball of the finger comes in contact with the key. The whole arm, hand, and fingers are relaxed, as loose as possible. You caress the keys as though you love them, as though they were a very part of you. You cling to them as to something soft, velvety, or downy, with pressure, pressure, pressure always. This illustration recalled to the listener's mind one of Kitty Cheatham's stories, the one about the little girl caressing a pet kitten. She was asked which she loved best, her mother or the kitten. "Of course I love her best," was the rather hesitating answer, "but I love Kitty too, and she has fur." To acquire the melody touch, I teach it with the simplest exercises, sometimes with only single tones. When the idea is apprehended, the pupil works it out in some lyric piece, like A Song Without Words by Mendelssohn. There are 3 touches for melody playing. First, the down touch, made by descending arm and hand. Second, the up touch, made by elevating the wrist, while the finger lies upon the key. Third, the wiping off touch, which draws the finger off the key, with an arm and hand movement. The technical hand. The technical hand employs finger touch and finger action. The hand is held up, in military position, so to speak. The finger movements are quick, alert, and exact. The hand is alive, not dead and heavy, as is the melody hand. The 2 ways of playing are quite opposite in their fundamental character, but they can be modified and blended in endless ways. For the technical or coloratura touch, the hand is in arched position. The 5 fingers are well-rounded and curved. Their tips are on the keys. Everything is rounded. When a finger is lifted, it naturally assumes a more rounded position until it descends to the same spot on the key from which it was lifted, as though there were 5 little imaginary black spots on the keys, showing exactly where the fingertips should rest. The fingers are lifted cleanly and evenly and fall on the keys, no hitting nor striking. I make a great distinction between the coloratura touch and the melody touch. The first is for rapid, brilliant passage work, sparkling, glittering, iridescent, what you will, but cold. It is made, as I said, with arched hand and raised finger action. Melody touch expresses warmth and feeling, is from the heart. Then there are the down and up arm movements for chords and, of course, scale and arpeggio work with coloratura touch. I generally expect pupils who come to me to go through a short course of preparatory study with my assistant, Miss Madeline Prosser, who has been with me for years and does most thorough work in this line. Assimilation of principles. Many pupils come to me with no very definite ideas as to touch and what they may express through it. They think if they feel a passage sufficiently, they will be able to use the right touch for it. Sometimes they may be able to hit upon the effect they want, but they don't know quite how they got it, nor can they repeat it another time at will. I believe the principles governing certain touches can be so thoroughly learned and assimilated that when the player sees a certain passage, he knows at once what touch is required to express it. A great actor illustrates what I mean. He knows how to employ his features and body to express the thought of his lines. When you go to the Théâtre Français in Paris, you know every member of the company is thoroughly trained in every phase of his art. You are aware that each actor has studied expression to such an extent that the features naturally fall into the required lines and curves whenever a certain emotion comes up for expression. So with the pianist, he should have the various touches at his fingertips. The step beyond is to express himself, which he will do easily and naturally when he has such a preparation as I have referred to. Memorizing. I am often questioned on the subject of memorizing. Some pupils think if they play the piece a sufficient number of times they will know it, then are troubled because they cannot at all times remember the notes. Such players must know every note of the piece away from the piano and be able to recite them. I have students who are able to learn their music away from the instrument and can play it to me without having tried it on the piano. I require the piece so thoroughly memorized that if I correct a measure or phrase, the pupil can go right on from that point, without being obliged to start farther back or at the beginning. In some cases, however, if the pupil has her own method of committing to memory and it is successful, I have no desire to change it. Octave studies. For octave study, form the hand with the octave grimace, that is with arched hand, the unemployed fingers slightly curved. In staccato touch, of course, use light wrist. Begin with 1 beat in 16ths and finish with the wiping off touch. Build up more and more beats in notes of the same value, always ending the passage with the same touch as above mentioned. This exercise can be played the full length of the keyboard in all keys and also chromatically. It can be played in the same fashion, using 4-voiced chords instead of octaves. When such an exercise can be prolonged for 20 minutes at a time, octave passages in pieces have no terrors for the pianist. For the octaves in Chopin's Polonaise Op. 53, he would merely have to learn the notes, which can be done away from the piano. There is no need for exhaustive practice of the passage. Keeping up repertoire. In order to keep repertoire in repair, one should have it arranged so that old pieces are gone over once a week. Group your repertoire into sections and programs. It might be well to begin the week with Chopin, playing through the whole list, after which pick out the weak places and practice those. Tuesday, take Schumann and treat him in the same way. Then comes Liszt, Russian music, modern composers, concertos, and chamber music. In this systematic way, the whole repertoire is kept up. Details of practice. My mornings are given up to practice, my afternoons to teaching. Of these practice hours, at least 1 hour is given to technique, scales, arpeggios, octaves, chords, and Bach. I believe in taking one selection of Bach, say a 2-voiced invention, and perfecting it, playing it in various ways, transposing it into all keys and polishing it to the highest degree possible. The B-flat invention is a useful one for this treatment. So with etudes, instead of playing at so many, is it not better to perfect a few and bring them up to the highest degree of completeness? I am very susceptible to color anywhere, in anything, especially in pictures. Music should express color. Certain compositions seem to embody certain colors. As you suggest, red is certainly the motif of Chopin's great Polonaise, Op. 53. Mr. Burnham should certainly look forward to success in his visit to his native land. His fine touch and tone, sincere and musicianly style, and buoyant, genial personality will make friends for his art and himself everywhere.